welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good weekend. I know I did. This week's episode is brought to you by, me and the Gold Hoarders, so I hope you guys enjoyed the ads that I had before. I'm going to do the regular ads that I had in the past because the Manscaped promotion is now over. Thank you all who listened for the month of February. And as we go forward, unless I hear news about it, we'll probably be doing the regular ads that I had in the past. So aside from that, this episode is actually with someone that I've been wanting to get on the podcast for a bit now. I listened to their episode from Shiny Ray and Captain Blubber. It was a really good episode, and because of that and a recent thing that happened in their family, I decided it would be a great time to reach out and see if they'd be available for the podcast. They enjoyed it, and if you didn't read the title and you're going in blind, can I introduce you to Phuzzy Bond, one of the Sea of Thieves partners over on Twitch. He's a great guy. He's done a great job kind of building guides for Sea of Thieves players in general. So if you guys are happy with this, definitely make sure to thank him, let him know what's going on, and let him know that you appreciate his thoughts, his commentary, and his different videos out on YouTube as well as his stream. So he's got a Discord server, so make sure that you hit over there if you want to find another crew. There's a really good way of kind of telling, like, it feels a lot like another version of the Sea of Thieves Discord as well too. So I'm gonna have links in the show notes for all of his socials as where you can get a hold of him. I'd really appreciate it if you guys get an opportunity to say hi or thanks for him to join the actual podcast. And pirates, with that, let's get into it. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons. They're the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast and supported me and the podcast to make sure that you guys have good content, good audio, that I have time to be able to justify this. You guys are actually helping me get over to England so I can actually meet a bunch of you over at the Sea of Thieves Fest. I'm really excited for that. I got my ticket. I got a hotel. I'm just waiting to get enough to be able to get the flight, which is going to be the most priciest thing, which surprisingly enough. Plus I have to figure out how to get a passport. So I need to do that because I've never left the United States outside of the couple trips to Canada before they got really, really restrictive over there. So I'm going to be doing that this summer. So if you guys happen to get a ticket to go to SOT Fest in England, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be bringing stickers. I'm going to be bringing myself, and I can't wait to actually see a bunch of people there. I'm hoping that we're going to be able to record an episode live from the actual Sea of Thieves Fest for that week, since I probably will be traveling and it'll be a little bit harder to see like what's going on. So I'm working on having a panel there, but who knows at this point. If anything, I'll just sit in a corner and record on like a laptop or something. So with that, pirates, I'm really excited for you all to find out what's going on with that. But before I get into any of that and this episode, I have to shout out the patrons. So thank you, patrons. Let's start off with the newest patron, People's Republic. Then we've got El Cute, Captain Hasco, Chateau Noof, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fallen, Captain Vane, Trickster, Jabaro 5, Kazia the Rogue, King Flameheart, Lumpy SRQ, Arian Darth, Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, Xbox Mike 29, Munchie, Regis Stella, Savage Hamster, Norwegian, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Uriel Canes, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Super Pack, Music Me, The Lord Chronologist, Deadeye Dre, Fergatron, Murphy Lives, Neon, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Skinny Matt, Straw Hat Connor, Thor Von Blitz, Void, and Zam. Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to me. I'm amazed that we're getting closer and closer to 50 patrons. It seems like this list keeps on growing, and I don't know what to tell you guys. It's been amazing. I love you all so much for the support. Thank you so much. And with that, let's get into the episode with Phuzzy Bond. I'm excited. You're excited. We're all going to have some fun with this one. We were talking a little bit before I clicked record, which I know I should always click record before I do anything, because the conversation that usually happens before I click record is actually a really awesome one.
Yes.
So to kind of catch people up, Phuzzy, welcome to the show. First off, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. I've wanted to have you on for a long time, and I'm glad that I finally reached out to you, and you were more than willing to.
Of course, it's an honor to be here.
Oh man, thank you. It's nice. It's really kind of you to say. I love your content, and one of the things that kind of sparked my interest in reaching out to you, in part, was you recently put out a video of you and your son reaching Pirate Legend on Sea of Thieves. But I also noticed that you did an interview with Captain Blubber for his podcast over on YouTube. And
Yes.
you've been making content for Sea of Thieves for a very long time. And I wanted to dive into that first before we really get into the meat of kind of talking about Sea of Thieves in general. So for folks that aren't familiar with your content, where can they find you, and what kind of content have you been putting out recently?
Well, I'm mainly a YouTuber, but you can find me on any social, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, mainly these three, under the name Phuzzy Bond, but I consider myself YouTuber. Everything else is, extras.
Yeah, awesome. And you've been playing Sea of Thieves for a while now, not the whole time, but a lot of that, from what I learned with the interview with Captain Blubber, is that you actually have to play Sea of Thieves through a VPN. Is that still accurate?
Well, no, I play in normal, but I had to, until now, actually, this day, can you imagine? I'm a Sea of Thieves partner. If I change my region to Jordan, it doesn't appear on the search. I mean, now it's on Steam, so that's
Yeah.
kind of sorted,
Oh,
It's
that's
now
true.
region locked on Steam. But back then, yeah, I had to use a VPN, open Amazon, and buy a key from there, a CD key, and then redeemed it on the Microsoft Store. That's how I bought it.
Man, that's so crazy.
Yeah.
So do you run into that problem a lot, or is Steam kind of the go-to for you for a lot of gaming?
Funny to say that, like the timing of this question, because Steam was never region locked anything to me until Lost Ark recently. I wanted to give it a try, and it's region locked in Southeast Asia. I don't know why they consider us Southeast Asia, but whatever.
Weird. Yeah, especially given location. That's strange. So if you've had this much trouble just in the last few years being able to play games, how did you get into gaming?
Well, see, back in the day, one of the first official consoles I've had was a Sega Genesis or Mega Drive. I don't remember which one. It's just a region-based thing. And that's mainly how I really got into it. Games like Golden Axe and Sonic and stuff like that.
Oh, nice.
Were really hype, yeah. But the very first game I played was Pong on the Atari, I think.
Oh man,
my cousin's house.
Oh, that's cool.
Just two sticks and play all day. Yeah, that was cool, man.
Yeah, God, yeah, those old games had something fun about them. That was just that you didn't have a drive or a goal. It was just you versus whoever you're playing, or you just trying to make it through. Yeah, it's the simplest form of entertainment, right?
Yeah, it's not a business, basically. Yeah, it's just made because they want people to have fun. There's nothing wrong with business, but that sometimes, destroys games in a way.
It's true. So kind of going through your life then, did you usually play a lot of games like locally, or when did you start getting into like online games?
Online games. The very first online game I played, I think, was Counter-Strike, the original one. That was basically everywhere. And then I played Command and Conquer Generals. I kind of lived my life on that, going to network games. It wasn't really online. It was in network gaming places because internet was weak back then. So, and then it kind of grew from there.
Man, that's cool. So how did you kind of decide on, if we want to jump forward in time, how did you kind of decide on Sea of Thieves?
Oh, that's a very funny story. I finished Subnautica, the whole story, like the game, and I loved it. Then, Google recommended a Jacksepticeye video of his Subnautica playlist. So I watched it. I watched the ending without spoilers. I just want to see his reaction. So I watched the last episode and I loved his reaction. And then right after the video finished, that was March 10th. I still remember that. Right after the video finished, YouTube recommended a Jacksepticeye video of Sea of Thieves playing the beta with Markiplier and a few others.
Oh,
I was like, oh,
cool.
what is this game? That looks good. Then I saw the trailer. I was mind blown. I was like, how come I'm into gaming and I never heard of this? Obviously, because of my region, I never heard of this. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I didn't see it on like ads or anything. So, and that's when I started like looking at it every day. And then I did the VPN thing and I pre-ordered it. However, I played Sea of Thieves on the 21st of March, not the 20th, because I had a very slow internet. It took 24 hours to download.
Oh
So I
man.
started downloading on the 20th and I started playing on the 21st.
Oh man, that sucks. Yeah,
Yeah.
I that's so interesting because I feel like I had the same situation. Only I really didn't have an excuse that it wasn't being marketed in my territory. It was. I wasn't into paying attention to
Yeah.
Microsoft games. But yeah, I was
Oh
watching
yeah, I
someone.
created an Xbox account only for Sea of Thieves. I just don't.
Yeah.
You know, who
The-
needs it? Honestly, at least back then. Now it's better, but
yeah, I ran into the same. Like I had an Xbox 360 that I picked up, and it was mostly just to jump into Gears of War and Mass Effect. That was like the goal of it. And I made an account
yeah,
then, but I really didn't do anything with it. So when I found out about Sea of Thieves and I saw people like playing it on Twitch, and I was like, I need this game. I don't know what this game is
yeah.
really, but I need to play this
It was
game.
just out of the box compared to other games, just not normal. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So I had the same situation. It was like as soon as I saw someone else playing it, I was like, I get it. I want it. I don't care what it is. And then I found out it was like an Xbox exclusive, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm really deep into Nintendo right now, so and they're not serving me, so I guess
yeah,
I'll go check out this Xbox ecosystem and see how that goes. Oh man,
yeah.
that's so cool. That's really cool that you jumped in and whatnot.
Sometimes.
So what is your situation like now? I mean, you're a YouTuber. You've been streaming on Twitch. You've been living most of your life socially, like online. Like how is internet and life like now compared to when Sea of Thieves came out?
It's completely different. I'm not into social media, by the way. Ironically speaking, I don't have personal like before. Like I don't have a Facebook. I removed it in 2010.
Hmm.
You know,
I should.
I didn't have a Twitter. I don't have any of that. You know, I don't have personal stuff. You know, now sometimes I post personal things because the viewers like to feel like the content creator is a human, not a bot.
Yeah.
I had dinner. Whatever. We went out and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm generally not a big fan of personal exposure online.
Hmm.
Um, I don't mind it if it happens, but I want to take an extra step to
Protect
show a
yourself.
lot of. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the life is it changed. It changed my life, because I never thought of myself from becoming a content creator. It just all happened.
Yeah. Is that something that you enjoy having now compared to when you were just making content for the sake of making content?
Well, see, here's the thing. Maybe a question you want to ask, but since you asked, this will apply to it. I never intended to make YouTube content. I'm originally an audio engineer. I work with
Oh,
media, and I do audio for animations, for film, and stuff like that, and for games. I also I did my own mobile games up until my content kind of kicked off and took over my life.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bit of stuff. Do you want to get into that a little bit? Because I'm curious. Like how do you
Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, how did you
Yeah.
get into audio engineering and making me feel really self conscious about everything I'm recording right now?
um, I basically, we can go way back. I'll tell you this and a highlight. So in
Yeah.
1996, my best friend, his sister is a very like high tier professional pianist, right?
Mm.
And she was telling him, uh, I need you to play violin so you can start playing with me. He's like, violin, that's like classy stuff. I don't want that. I want something cool, And yeah, so I was like, you know what? Let's go to the music center and see what they teach. So we went there to take violin lessons. The second we stepped in, there was this cool like long-haired dude wearing Metallica shirt, playing acoustic guitar and singing. For teenagers, that's
That's
the
it.
peak of life right
Yeah.
there. You bring all the ladies and you bring
It's
all the
fame.
success and the money, and you become a rock star. We saw it all there.
Yeah.
So we were like, screw violin, we're gonna learn guitar. And we started learning guitar, and I got into it. I did well as a guitarist, and then in 1996 and in 2001 I started wanting to record my own music, and I started learning how to record. Self-taught audio engineer up until 2008. I actually took a diploma in audio engineering. Then I continued and traveled to Canada until 2011. I came back. I finished another degree in audio engineering, and that's
Wow.
fast forward.
So help me out with the time frame as far as how old you were back in 96, because I was just getting into high school back in 1996.
I was born in 84, so I was around 11, 12.
Okay.
Something like that.
So I was born in 82. So we're right about, God, you and I had like the same exact dream going into that time frame, man. Because I had the same thing. Like as soon as, it probably would have been 1998 for me. I started growing up. I started watching like movies, and I saw like The Crow, and goth was starting to become a thing. So I was like, oh, well, if I'm going to grow my hair out and go long, then I'm going to get a trench coat and start learning guitar and going to be like a rock star and stuff. And it did fine until like 2000, 2001, when, band broke up and ended up quitting that, and then decided that I wanted to go to college. And then college was like, well, what do you want to do in college? And I was like, I don't know. I was going to be a rock star. I didn't really think about college.
Yeah.
So it was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, okay, well, I guess I love animation. I love seeing cartoons. I love seeing 3D movies. I love all of that. So I went to a special school for just animation and got through it, got my degree, was really happy about it. And right as soon as I graduated, they started kicking up programs for gaming. But I was already 45 grand in debt, and I was like, I can't apply for more loans for this kind of stuff. I need to work. I need to get that. So put myself out there, tried to get jobs, couldn't get anything. I didn't have enough money to move out to a different state to be able to go to different studios like in California and stuff. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm working at GameStop for now, and eventually I'll save up some money and move where I want. So long story short, it didn't quite work out what I wanted to be. But so you said you've been doing audio engineering for movies and for shows and stuff. Like, how do you get into that? You said you were living in Canada. That's kind of a big move.
Yeah, I lived there for a year and a half. I went there like late 2009, and I came back April 2011. Yeah. How did I get into that? It's just because of like being a guitarist and stuff. And back then in the late 90s, walking in the street with a guitar on your back was an alien thing to do here. It's like, what? Like people in the street looking, stuff like that. So I started getting people that wanted to learn guitar, and I started teaching them, which kind of like helped me so much in what I do now. The idea of teaching people through entertainment, which is why I make guides and stuff like that. It kind of became my thing. Of course, as I got older, my older brother is a filmmaker, and he's kind of like big-ish, not big, but like not like world famous, but he's behind the scenes of world famous,
Yeah.
So he started giving me when he graduated, he started giving me his graduation projects. Can you do audio here? Can you do sound effects here? I'll connect you with people. So he did that, and it kind of grew from there, and I started getting for example, TV ads for some real estate company and stuff like that. I do audio, I do stuff like that. A lot of students. I always like to help, you can say, the less fortunate in a way. Like, for example, students that did animation projects and they want audio for it. I didn't take money for it. I just did it for them. I had some free time on me. So that kind of like got my name out there, and I learned from their projects basically how to do audio properly.
That's cool. So essentially just kind of organically grown with the help of your brother kind of a little bit to get you some connections initially.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Man, that's a good way to go. Way better than just having stuff handed to you, because it feels like you kind of learn things a little more naturally at your own pace at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Like everything I do right now is self-taught, everything.
Yeah.
Even audio engineering, I just went to study. I don't want to say I knew everything, because when they give you super expensive tools and mixers to work on and studios, you obviously learn more, but the theory was all in my head. So,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's important. Having at least understanding the theory behind things will let you kind of apply that to whatever tool you happen to run into in the future, which makes a huge difference.
Exactly.
Okay, so I feel like I got a really good understanding of where you're coming from as far as that. So let's talk a little bit about your guides and stuff. You've been doing guides for a few years now, and you're kind of like, you just had one come out in the last week that was 5 mistakes that new players make that cost you your ship, which is a really fun video and very accurate.
Yeah, exactly.
So
because I always get questions, why do I sink, why do I suck at PvP, why am I not getting better?
So with stuff like that, is that kind of like, do you like to focus more on trying to educate folks as far as like what they can do to be better at the game?
Yes. So basically, I'm going to take a step back on when I started my channel and why I chose to make guides. I like I said, I never wanted to become a YouTuber. Not that I never wanted to. I never thought of that as me in the future. I just taught people through entertainment, and we had a family business. So I used to work with my father while doing audio works in the evening and developing my games, So when I started playing Sea of Thieves, until this day, Sea of Thieves we didn't have maiden voyage and stuff like that. Sea of Thieves doesn't hold your hand, It's a double-edged sword. It's good and bad at the same time. Like literally players can feel overwhelmed and never come back to the game again, or players can actually take the challenge and try and learn the game, the hard way. So back then I was like, how should I do this? How should I do that? How do I save? That's one of the questions like people ask in the early days. And when I opened YouTube, with all due respect to the content creators doing guides back then, their guides were good, but I felt like, how should I say this? Like, for example, they would say, buy the voyage and go dig out the chest, and when you come back, sell the chest and you'll get 1,000 gold, and that's the captain's chest, right? But see, that's the thing. When I watched that, I was like, buy the voyage from where? Sell the chest where? So I felt like the guides are there, but they kind of like made the guide in a way that they know where. So they didn't think of putting that in the guide, thinking that this player is jumping in blind. I'm sure there were good guides, back then, but generally I felt like there was a void in that, especially in that phase of the first, let's say 25% of a new player's adventure. Like the bridge, from walking in until he's able to actually understand and perceive Sea of Thieves, what it actually is. So I started making these videos.
That's really cool. I like that, because you're not wrong. It's I remember from my experience, I had an instructor who was having us try and like break down how we do things, and he says, if you're gonna write a guide, try and write a guide for how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if you don't end up with like 15 different points of what you have to do to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, then you failed. And I was like, well, how hard could it be how hard is it really going to be to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Yeah, 100%.
So I 100% respect your desire to want to fill in the gaps that are taken for granted when it comes to a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's just that, because that's what I wanted. Like, I opened guides because I wanted to learn.
Yeah.
I didn't find it. I was like, all right, because of my experience, I already teach people through entertainment. I already know how to edit videos. Obviously, when you're audio engineer, it's kind of like, parallel to that, right? And stuff like this. So I might as well do it myself. Of course, it didn't kick off from the beginning, but it didn't take long either.
That's cool.
Jesse Tattoo, of course, if you remember him, helped me a lot back then.
Yeah.
He saw what I do. He's like, oh man, you're going to be big one day. I'm going to take you under my wing. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And then he helped me back then. And yeah, respect to him, like the highest respect to him.
Yeah, for sure. It's a shame that he quit making content for Sea of Thieves, but I understand why. So okay, so you're making videos for Sea of Thieves. You started streaming for fun. I'm curious as before we get into like kind of the season 6 feelings and stuff like that. I wanted to talk about your family and your son and getting him to Pirate Legend. Was that a goal for you when he started playing? Like, how did you get him into playing, and what was his feelings kind of like as he was getting closer and closer? Like, what kind of experience is that like for a father to see their son hit Pirate Legend?
Well, I did get emotional at the time when it became Pirate Legend, because I remembered when I became Pirate Legend,
Mm-hmm.
and by coincidence, it was in Golden Sands too. When I was like, okay, all right, let's get to the title now in the video, and then you can see in the video we just happened to go to Golden Sands. I didn't
Yeah.
plan it, even though if I thought of it back then, I would be like, no, I want to go to Golden Sands because that's where I became Pirate Legend. But it just aligned perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I became a YouTuber as he was getting older, and our lifestyle changed. You know what I mean? Not like financially, it's just that I'm always around now.
Yeah.
Because I work from the rooftop of our house. I have my studio there.
Yeah.
And instead of going like 8 to 5 every day, I'm coming back smelling like my family business is, my father's business is plastics and resin and fiberglass, like heavy industries.
Oh,
So we always
interesting.
come back, smelling, like a factory, basically.
Yeah.
Don't touch me. I need to shower. Come back. So my lifestyle kind of changed. Now I'm just always up there. Sometimes Jackie, my wife, calls me at like 12 p.m. I'm doing this homework with him. Just we can't get it done. Can you come for a second?
Mm-hmm.
That feeling
Mm-hmm.
of me being around and I'm always there changed his lifestyle. So he's like, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm a Sea of Thieves content creator. So he got into that. He's like, why does dad keep sitting in the computer for so long? Aren't like, isn't that too much gaming? Then Jackie will be like, no, remember how he used to work with your grandfather? Now he works alone. My son is 9, but back then when I started, he was like 6. So understanding was a bit,
Yeah.
slower. So he's like, okay, I want to do what he does. So Jack was like, you can maybe sail with us at one time. So since he started sailing, he's been hooked. He loves fighting in games generally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he plays Sea of Thieves and other games too.
That's cool.
And it just like carried on from there.
That's really cool. So now that he's a Pirate Legend, are you going to be taking him through some of the Pirate Legend voyages that are coming out with season 6?
Oh yeah, of course. He's very excited. He's very, very excited for that. So it's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I can imagine that'll be really fun. I want to jump into a conversation that we were having before we recorded, because we were talking about Elden Ring and story. And for me, story is very important. But for you go for the experience of just playing the game. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, of course. I love a story, and I usually have just hints about a story.
Mm-hmm.
Like Elden Ring, so far I know that there's some tarnished and a few like issues going on, and we need to obviously fight, and which is what's said in the trailer, basically, become the Elden Ring and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I play for the immersive experience of my personal challenge, like Sea of Thieves, for example. All right, I'm solo. This is a galleon of 4 people. Most probably I'm going to lose, but what can I do strategically to try and overcome that challenge and think out of the box? Kind of the same why I got drawn into Elden Ring. Bosses are not just like, they're kind of like, you played Metroid. I'm sure you played Metroid, right? They are literally the same as Metroid bosses. You fight one for the first time, like, holy heck, I got slaughtered. How am I gonna even fight this thing? Then you start realizing a pattern and a certain move and stuff, and then you realize when are the weak points. Literally, Elden Ring bosses are Metroid bosses, but in 3D and of course larger scale. So
it's interesting. Sorry.
Challenging myself, basically. No, just challenging myself, challenging my thought process. Can I do this? Is what draws me into games.
Yeah.
That's why I don't play battle royales a lot, because shoot kill 24/7 is in my opinion, not very useful
Um,
for my brain, if you want to say that.
yeah. Yeah. So does in that instance, do you think that the having the mix of Sea of Thieves having like PvE elements and PvP is what kind of keeps it fresh for you in that instance?
Yes, because I always put in my videos, they always ask me, why do you have loot in the bowsprit? I'm not against it, but I feel like to me, I can go organic in the server. If
Hmm.
I stay in a server for more than 3 hours, then I hop to another one because obviously there's no one in there,
Yeah.
But I don't usually hop. I don't hop at all, actually. I just put loot in the bowsprit, raise a Reaper until I'm 5, and I sail around as final boss. Not in terms of like I'm unbeatable. I sink a lot and I win a lot,
Yeah.
but it's like, this is your reward, and I'm a Reaper 5 revealed to the map. If you sink me, that is your reward. If you don't sink me and I survive until the end of my session, I'm about to sign out, I either give it to a new player or I just to drop it on Reaper's hideout and sign out, So that's my challenge basically in Sea of Thieves. Every time I sail, I don't even like follow commendations or whatever. If they happen, they happen.
So effectively, you're trying to make yourself into an Elden Ring boss at this point.
Yeah, of course, I've been like this since years, not,
Yeah.
like since I maxed out everything. I felt like the only way for me to keep Sea of Thieves exciting. Don't get me wrong, Sea of Thieves has a lot of content, but for us day one players, there's only what we create.
Mm-hmm.
No one
Yeah.
cares about voyages and commendations. Even when a new update comes out, because of the experience we have, 1 week, 10 days, 2 weeks, it's done. So you have to. I personally go back to my own usual thing. I'm your see if this doesn't have end game, so I'll be your end game. I'm
Mm.
not unbeatable, but hard to beat. So sink me and earn this loot. That's what it is.
That's a really cool way of going about it. I think a lot of streamers typically just kind of, they have whatever it is that drives their story forward. And, I tend to see a lot of folks that love to be that kind of infamous pirate on the seas. And,
Yes.
you don't see that too often with a lot of crewmates or a lot of crews out there who don't have all the time in the world to be able to sail. They tend to only have a certain amount of time, and because of that, they feel like their time is valuable, and they want to make sure that they don't waste that time. And because of that, I think they tend to turn in whatever they can, and try to avoid too many fights unless they feel like they are strong enough to be able to take on anything. So it's
Yes.
kind of cool to
100%.
see how you feel about that. Ahoy there, pirates. This is the ad for this episode, and I did want to let you know, if you wanted to avoid these and just get a regular filler, you can head over to the Patreon. There's a special feed just for patrons that get the ad-free version. If you want to keep listening, though, I can't say I blame you, because this week I want to let you know about Loot Crate and getting 15% off of most crates and crate subscriptions when you use the link and code RobotsRadio in the show notes. Also, you can head over to audiobooks.com, get your first 3 audiobooks for free, and that can include any 2 VIP books, or use the affiliate link for Green Man Gaming. If you're a PC gamer or you'd like to save money on games, it's one of the benefits of being a PC gamer. Head over to Green Man Gaming. You can get codes for Steam, Epic, any of the different stores that they have deals going on. They have deals going on all the time, and if you plan on buying there, please consider using our affiliate link. All of that goes straight to me through the network. Thank you all so much for everything that you do to support this podcast. It means the world to me, and I continue to try and improve the quality and content for you. With that, pirates, let's get back to the show. How do you feel about the state of PvP right now? I've heard your conversations about it, and I've heard kind of how you feel. We've had some podcasts and some videos in the past that have talked a lot about how they want to improve the state of PvP and kind of put more work into making it a reliable thing. I'm really curious. How do you feel as far as like the hit scan versus projectile conversation?
Well, I virtually put this into practice. I was like, okay, I'm gonna imagine that hit scan is in the game, right? Hit scan obviously makes double gunning and pistol, especially because it has the fastest reload.
Yeah.
I'm a dedicated pistol user, so if
Kudos.
they move to hit scan and keep the damage the same on guns, it's gonna destroy the game. It's gonna just make it Apex Legends in the sea.
Yeah.
That's what is going to make it, So, and my take about this, of course, if Sea of Thieves was shipped with a cutlass forced, like you only have to carry cutlass, then that's fine. We don't know otherwise, right? I personally dislike double gunning, but I'm not against someone using it. Each person has the right to play how they want. However, in my opinion, if hit scan to be introduced, when it gets to ranged weapons, they have to do either two things: either force cutlass so it doesn't become Apex Legends, or nerf the damage of all guns, that no two guns can give you 100% damage, which makes it the blunderbuss 50, the Eye of Reach 40, and the pistol 30. Of course, that's worse for me as a pistol user. I have to shoot someone 3 times, but I'm not thinking of 4 times, actually. I'm not thinking of my own benefit. I'm thinking of the greater good for the game, right?
Yeah.
So, if they do that, if they apply hit scan, I believe one of these two things will have to be done to guns.
Yeah.
In addition to not sharing bullets, like 5 bullets for both.
That would be an interesting aspect to approach as well too. If you only had 5 shots, but you could use any of the guns that you have, but it's only the 5 shots.
Yeah.
There's a lot of balance, I think, even with fruit too, because the fruit is balanced based on the damage that the guns do. So if you increased or if you decreased the damage to guns, you'd probably have to reduce the fruits. Like a 1 pineapple bite would not refill your whole health. It would maybe fill up half.
Yeah, it could be 50%. It's fine.
A lot of balance.
Yeah, hit scan, and it's also not fair to someone who's been double gunning for. Like I said, I don't like it, but it's not fair for someone who's been double gunning for more than 2 years to get that taken away from him. I feel like it's too late. So you can keep it, but just nerf the damage.
Yeah.
I'm the most one getting affected by it as a pistol, and now I shoot people twice, hip fire done. But now I'm gonna have to, if they do it, let's say 30%, I'm gonna have to shoot someone 4 times.
Yeah.
That's almost my whole that's almost my whole bullet capacity,
Yeah, just for one person.
I can't think of other ways, basically.
It's tough because I like the prospect of it. I understand that having hit scan would help with a lot of the problems that are going on right now with hit registration. I don't think that it would save it though, because even and I did a bit of commentary back on this when we first found out about them talking about it. But we'll take Halo Infinite for an example. Halo Infinite uses hit scan. And it's good that they do, because it shows that even with a game like Halo Infinite, where everyone feels like the multiplayer is sound, even if the content's a bit light, there are still issues that they run into with servers where even people who are doing hit reg on Halo Infinite are complaining about how the latency between players is so much, depending on where they're at, that you can shoot someone and the damage will register, but the damage won't register until they're out of line of sight. And at that point, it's like, well, it feels like there's a failing. Yeah, it feels like there's a failing on the game. And, what are you going to, how do you fix that? How do you make it feel like your hits are impacting at the time that you're actually doing that? And there's just no good answer to that. So I hope they stick with projectiles, because.
Yeah, I think, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that I think that is the feel of the game, where we are pirates. We're using shots. Each of those shots is a physical projectile, and that's kind of the history of guns back then. We didn't have lasers back then. So I feel like, just for the sake of what a pirate game is, I hope that they stick with projectiles. But you were going to say something.
Yeah, I think hit scan is way too of a big sacrifice than what it's worth. Like, the outcome is going to provide is not worth changing a whole ranged system because of that. Because hit rate is going to stay, but not as much, of course. At the same time, let's look at hit scan that's already there. The harpoon is hit scan, and it messes up half the time.
It does.
Just think of it like that, right? Like the harpoon is hit scan, and the amount of times, thanks barrels, when you're just sailing by them and there's like a 200 barrels in front of you, you use the harpoon and nothing happens. It just goes through, everything comes out. Here's hit scan for you. So, and that's just like stationary barrels, almost stationary, and you're moving. So how about two people moving? So I think if it makes it better, it's going to make it like 30-40% better, but the complaining is going to stay there. So maybe we can just take a step back and find other ways to fix it.
Yeah.
But keep it projectile.
I think that's a really measured approach to it, and I hope that they're taking our words into consideration when we talk about these kind of things, because I do think that the feel of the game is a larger part of why we play Sea of Thieves right now than just how accurate our bullets are being. If it always sucks when you get hit regged on something, but at the same time, I wouldn't give up projectiles for bullets is just for the sake of 1 out of 5 times or 2 out of 5 times being able to have that hit that I shoot that I think is going to hit, not actually hit. And yeah, I'd rather keep it the way it is and work on different solutions for that.
Yeah, the biggest problem with hit reg is when it's the last bite. Like for example, like if I'm eating a burger and you ask for it, I'll give you half my sandwich, is fine. But don't eat the last bite. You know what I mean? Because the last bite is what seals the deal. Hit reg is the same. If you're fighting someone and it doesn't register and you end up dying, is fine. But if you're fighting someone and it doesn't register, which causes you to sink eventually or lose the Athena or something, that's when I usually complain and I get triggered. It's like if it just functioned as intended, I wouldn't have sunk and lost the loot, or I wouldn't have lost the Athena, or this wouldn't have went the way it is, just because of that one last bite.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, and it's a really good point. It's a nice analogy too. I like that. Let's get in a little bit into season 6, because we're on the precipice of it. We're going to be seeing what's happening with the new forts. The new adventure is going to be kicking off as well for chapter 2, and we were talking about this with Elden Ring and how Elden Ring story is kind of trickled out. There's not really a whole lot there. I'm a huge fan of story and lore, and you mentioned that you love story, but you have a different approach to it. And we were talking a little bit about how if the story isn't necessarily laid out for you in game, you don't want to have to go to outside resources to try and figure out what's going on. There's things coming with season 6 that I think Rare is doing to try and serve both groups. Right now, I feel like adventures are the story that is being told in game instead of giving hints to stuff and kind of alluding to things. They're just telling you exactly, this is what the story is, this is what's going on, and you'll have this on a repetition or on a schedule that you can rely on. Whereas they're coming at the discovery, the outside sourcing through mysteries and stuff. So as someone who doesn't feel like they want to have to go out to try and find that stuff, how do you feel about mysteries being something that they are choosing to go forward with to slowly start teasing out future content for the game?
I think mysteries is the outcome of people's requests, which is, why can't we have tall tales in an adventure way instead of its own thing? Like a tall tale that's a voyage, not a tall tale where I can actually sell the loot in the end or steal it or something like that. So I think mysteries is bringing, like right now you open tall tale, it's a specific place, specific book, you have to go vote for it and go out of your way to specifically do that, right? But now with mysteries and adventures, it seems like they're bringing it from behind that UI to the front, so you can basically do that while sailing, like the adventure we had, or mysteries. Whenever they come, I think lore will become more obvious like that without having to go to tall tales. So they basically listen to the community, I think, with this one.
Cool.
Which I'm excited about, but it's still not going to stop me from all the lore I know is like from what you guys say, you, Falcor, your tweets, podcasts, Falcor stuff, videos. And now we have a shiny ray, these are basically each has his own interesting perspective on lore, and basically that's where I spoon feed myself all the lore. I don't bother with even reading books. I just in the game, it's like, oh, okay, this island looks like Racken's Fall. Let's just go there. There must be something there.
Yeah.
And then I'll be like, okay, Falcor, come out of the video. I don't understand what the heck was I doing, or who the one I was fighting. And then it all makes sense to me.
That's great. So with the new adventure, like, were you excited when you got to Shipwreck Bay? Like, did you enjoy the encounter just from a mechanics perspective, or did you have any feedback as far as like what you liked or didn't like?
Well, since I'm honest, guys, in gameplays, might as well like lay it out.
Yeah.
This adventure was lackluster, but I understand that if you take it isolated by itself, it was. But I understand that this is just a spark or warming up for what's to come. Like, we'll be able to properly judge the first adventure when we have maybe adventure 3 and 4. Like after 3-4 adventures, how that unfolds and how better it gets, then we will be able to judge the first one. But so far the first one feels like, to me, they just took ready assets from what they had. The menu with Bell was bugged as heck. Like, if end adventure, continue adventure, sometimes it just loops and you can't end it. Sometimes you can't sell something. It's expected to have bugs, but this one felt like they had to rush something to just provide a starting ground or a foundation for what's to come.
Yeah.
So it depends on what comes later. We'll know how good this one is.
Interesting. I was a little more excited with it, but I think a lot of that deals with my obsession with lore. I definitely realized the criticisms behind the first adventure, because I look at it kind of like the first page in a chapter, which it kind of is in a sense. Like
like finally, Bell is there and he actually said father, and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. And it's like I finally get some of the vindication for things that I've been wanting to see come to the game. So I was just excited that it even happened. If I'm being honest, the fact that oh, go ahead.
When I was on stream and I heard Servant of the Flame, right? He said father.
Yeah.
I was like, there it is. Falcor's gonna rest now. All these guys. Remember how he kept saying in his video, like, there was like this huge behind the scenes, not even a debate, like argument. No, he's not Flameheart's son. Yes, he is. No, he's not. Yes. I was like, there he is. Falcor's gonna rub it in now.
Yeah.
I was saying that on stream.
I still don't. I really don't want him to be the Servant of Flame, though, personally. But I that's because I have grander ideas of who I want to be the Flameheart Junior. But that's a whole like hours worth of.
I mean, father could be a reference of greatness and grandness, not actually daddy.
It's true.
So
yeah, it's funny that you bring that up, because last episode I did was with my gold hoarders. And Xbox Mike 29 brought up that same point. It's not necessarily a biological father situation. It could be just a powerful person in the sense.
Well, the bigger the twist is, the better the story will be. So
yeah,
I mean, why not?
Yeah, I love that stuff. I live for that stuff. So with season 6, we know we're getting the little mini forts that are coming out, the sea forts. We got the loading screen was just published today on Sea of Thieves' Twitter video or Twitter account, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this type of content. I have not done anything in Insiders, so I'm going in fresh with the content. I don't know if you've played on Insiders or not, but if you have...
not so much recently. I usually leave it like basically tomorrow is my Insider grind,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Do it right before the actual release.
It's because I have to make a guide on Thursday, and there's no need for me to do something that might change like several times. At an early version of Insider,
That's true.
So whenever I see on the patch notes, like this Insider build will be preparing for the upcoming release, that's when I jump in, because I know that, I need to work ahead of time on my guide and actually know what to answer my viewers whenever I stream on that day. Yeah. So I start doing basically my homework on this week.
That's not a bad idea. Because I typically publish my video or publish the podcast on the Monday. And after that, I still got a couple days before I have to actually wait for the actual launch. So it's not a bad idea. I might have to start doing that and get back into Insiders like a couple days before the actual release, just to kind of see like what's going on in case I do get an opportunity to actually stream it. I would. That's a really strong idea. I may have to take that if you don't mind.
Of course. Of course.
Plus, you mentioned making a guide for it, which I think is what a lot of folks that are in the business of making guides end up doing. They usually go in, get the content, and then I would imagine you probably have to build up a script.
Yeah, prepare like a sketch script type of thing, then wait for the patch notes to come out, confirm that you didn't mess up anything, or because sometimes insiders will have something that's like, let's say the previous one, right? It had, for example, the Adventure 1 in it, but Adventure 1 wasn't released with the season. It was released later on. So it kind of, you have to also make sure you align it with the patch notes. So you won't make a mistake in the guide and say, oh, we're going to have season 6 and a new, something. So it's like, oops, that new something is not coming out yet. So
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Do you thumbnail in all your videos for the guides, or do you kind of shoot what you know you're going to want to capture just off of memory?
In the early days, I used to be like out of memory, but now what I do is I write the script. I write what scenes I need. For example, slow cinematic walking into the tavern, stuff like this, and then it kind of made it faster when I started doing that a few months back, because I have a list, for example, of 12 scenes I need to do, and another 5 I need to take from a Sea of Thieves B-roll. And then just putting Lego pieces together becomes easier.
That's a really good way of going about it. And definitely less time than having to actually like map out each shot and stuff. Just knowing like where you want to have that content come from, I think makes a huge difference.
Yeah, it also helps in the location. Like, for example, let's say I have a scene in Plunder Outpost. I also have a scene in the tavern, but that's coming at the end of the video. Yeah. I will just film the first and that 7th scene on the same outpost, instead of like filming that one and whatever I need, putting in the video, then logging back in. I used to do that back then, it was so chaotic and it took so much time. And sometimes the server will go down or whatever.
Yeah. Sounds a lot like how films are made in general, where they'll go to a location, they'll shoot everything for every scene that they need based off of the location. And then they'll just they'll Lego it all together at the end of the film and edit it together.
I used to shoot scenes in order, but then I realized that's actually the wrong way. You write your script and the notes in order, but then you pile them up based on location.
That's really interesting. It's a good approach to take and makes sense considering that's kind of what the tested formula for filming is for actual movies and stuff. Now that I think
and you're
about
not rushing, it's just more time efficient. Like, you're not rushing the footage, you're just being more time efficient.
Yeah. Do you ever wish you had a custom server to have access to like time of day and stuff like that, so you could actually change like how, if you wanted to get a shot, you're at the mercy of the 24-minute cycle on the server?
Yes. Yeah, that's very painful, by the way. Actually, you can see that in my last video. My last point was about the ship despawning if it's hitting solid ground. And if you notice, the ship despawned at night. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to wait another 10 minutes for it to despawn during the day. I'm done. I'm just going to put this video. I did some like color correction and I brighten it just a bit so it won't look like out of place. And I put it because I was waiting and waiting because to be fair, it's a bit glitchy when the ship despawns. It doesn't always despawn, but the feature is there. So I provide it as it's intended, because actually before that I parked somewhere else for 20 minutes and it didn't despawn. So that kind of like triggered me. So I went to Mutiny Rock and I parked it there and I waited. And when it despawned, I was like, yes, it despawned, finally. And this took the footage. When I put in the video, I realized that it was dark. I just completely crossed my mind because I was just sitting there making sure I don't AFK, and it's painful. That scene was annoying, especially skellies and weird things coming out, and I have to. So like you said, I wish I can just, for example, that's actually something Sea of Concepts said once, and I thank him for that. He said, if you ever want footage for your pirate, go to the maiden voyage. It's always sunny and the lighting's great. Lighting is great. So that's what I do now. Yeah, that's what I do now. If I want like custom like outfit selfies or whatever, like something regarding the pirate, not the ship, because I can't customize the ship there. Yeah, I just go there and take as much. It feels like a studio.
Oh, that's really, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, you're not wrong. It's essentially like a set scene.
But it'll be wonderful if they give us controls like that.
Yeah. I would love to see what people could do when they get an opportunity to really start tweaking some of the things like that. I feel like I'm getting off track with season 6 though. I wanted to kind of get your thoughts. Are you looking forward to the new forts? Is that something that you think you're going to be spending a lot of time on? Because I know with season 4, we got the shrines and the treasuries, and the shrines were really good. And I think a lot of people enjoyed them for the most part, kind of exploring them and having that kind of obstacle course to go through to try and find like the different journals. And then obviously the breaths of the sea, or the Listerine bottles as I call them. And as we get closer to sea forts, it feels like those are kind of going to be in the same situation. It's adding another location for players to venture to, but these aren't intended to be the new thing to do. But I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts, because I have a couple questions afterwards that I want to dive into, but I don't want to overwhelm you with too many questions. So how do you feel about the sea forts?
The sea forts themselves are great, but I'm personally not very happy, because I feel like Sea of Thieves has two types of updates. I call it a plugin update and a core update. A plugin update, which they have been doing since Shrouded Spoils almost, except a few exceptions, which is kind of the annoying update, I call it, because that's something that once it's done, you can literally live without it, like unplugging it. That's why I call it a plugin update. Like, when was the last time I did a shrine? I don't remember. When I finished the commendations, it was over for me. You know, like, they virtually don't exist. Tall tales virtually don't exist. Vaults virtually don't exist. It's like, why is everything getting added as a plugin and not as a core feature, like the Shrouded Spoils or something like that? So it feels like all these things are taking server resources that are dropping performance in exchange of something that's temporary. So my thought on that is, why don't we turn these into core updates? For example, the new update could be where they added an extra puzzle to, let's say, what's called the Ancient Isles shrine, that big one. That one's really nice. Yeah, let's say they add an extra puzzle there. They can, because it's like there's a lot of space to do that. And then, for example, Old Boot Fort, sorry, not Old Boot, that's Fort of the Damned, Lost Gold Fort. Everyone hates it, you know. Imagine that one, for example, get some coral upgrades to it above the ground, but you cannot unlock it and you don't activate it. You just have to go, for example, to a shrine and unlock a puzzle to get a totem that activates that fort, and then you get some sort of fort with ocean crawlers in it instead of skeletons. And then you finish that and you get loot, you know. This way you added a new feature without adding. It became a core update, you know, like you didn't design a new assets and stuff like that. You just like connect the dots from what we already have, because a lot could be done. Like Sharpbait Cove alone, I feel like could be a whole update by itself from how much there is in that island.
Yeah, they're really
drawings and islands and caves, and it's just a beautiful island. So yeah, that's probably a long answer, but yeah, plugin update, core update. I feel like they should focus more on core update that make the daily experience different. So we can feel like our daily experience is changing, because once we're done with these sea forts, it's going to go back to this time right now. We're just sailing around trying to find something to do.
It's interesting to see how people kind of gravitate towards certain things. I know folks that like to get gold, they'll typically go do the gold vaults, because those are the things that earn the most for the time investment. And we saw that originally with the commodity crates, traveler, the merchant resources and stuff, where those were they were the best thing to do for a while, until they got nerfed. And
Yeah.
it's a shame too, because I think that was one of those situations where you had people sitting at an outpost getting a whole bunch of crates for a long period of time. They were valuable, and it didn't matter. There was no voyage tied to them. Once you got them, it didn't matter who turned them in. You got the full value for those. And it also put players on the seas sailing around with a whole bunch of valuables, and they weren't susceptible to damage. But you knew where they were going. If you saw someone going from outpost to outpost to outpost, you knew exactly what they were doing.
You would see them like stacking up groups, like these are for plunder, these are for this, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it really did kind of bring in those merchants to the sea. They were traveling and transporting goods, and those goods
were tough too. I used to call them merchants are the real reapers at the time.
They really
because you notice, like Order of Souls, they're just kind of like the hippies of the sea. I feel like they always mind their own business. Gold Hoarder, I'll only shoot if you shoot. But merchants are always like hostile as heck. If you get within range of my sight, I'm going to wreck you. That's how it was during the trade routes. Now, not anymore so much.
That's so funny, because I was sailing last weekend, and I felt like I was being super toxic, because we were running around as a merchant, and we were going around just trying to get some of those the Lost Voyage or lost, I can't think of what they're called. Basically the missing merchants. Lost shipments.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The ones you mean that soloed galleons, like Falcor said?
Yeah.
Because there's always one skeleton in there.
Yeah. Reminds me of a story of a kid who was out in the middle of nowhere in a galleon solo, who's just wanted to spawn the Kraken. He was so excited about it, and he had a galleon, and I'm like, that's not going to end well. But that was before like the Kraken could spawn on smaller ships. So he was just out there, but that's exactly what that kind of reminds me of. But yeah, so I was sailing out with some friends, and we were out doing merchant, and for whatever reason, we got this like bloodlust in our veins, and we was just like, we needed to go hunt down someone, and we found this Order of Souls who were just doing their own thing. They were out there doing Order of Souls, and I never heard them called hippies, but that's hilarious.
It just tends to be like this. They seem more passive. Even if you attack them, they just move away, or say, generally speaking, like, I'm just finishing commendations or whatever. Please leave me alone.
That's, considering that the whole aspect of Order of Souls is just to fight skeletons, or ships, ghost ships and stuff. I have to agree with you. I had never thought about it, but that's exactly what they are.
I mean, what I said is based on what I see, so it kind of feels like that a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that you do it a lot on observation. That's really cool. But yeah, it was the same kind of thing. Like we were merchants. We were going around getting a bunch of stuff. We saw an Order of Souls, and we decided to attack them, and they kept running. And I felt really bad at one point, because there was a guy, and it's so funny that you bring up the hippies thing, because he was on the back of the sloop on the canopy, and you could tell they didn't want to fight, but they weren't smart enough to, or they weren't educated enough to learn how to sail away from a brig. And the poor guy was just sitting on the back of the canopy dancing. And for whatever reason, I thought it was my duty to shoot him, and I shot him with my eye of reach, and he just collapsed dead. And I felt so bad, because he was just dancing on the back of the sloop. And I was like, my God, I'm one of those people.
Yeah. Toxic. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't believe I did it. I felt really bad after that. And we ended up sinking them. And I was like, I didn't need to shoot him. He wasn't doing anything. But that's so funny that you bring up the hippie thing. I'd never considered that, but I think I'm going to have to change my perspective on them now.
Yeah.
So,
whenever I sail, I'll be like, wait, hold on. Actually, any ship I fight, it doesn't matter what they have. But always the first impression, do they have an emissary? Yes. What is it? Order of Souls. Okay. So I change my whole strategy based on that. If it's merchant, raise your guard, approach slowly. If it's a gold hoarder, we'll shoot if they shoot. Gold hoarder seems like 50-50. And, Reaper, 100 minus 100. They either attack you or run all the way. So.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Reapers always feel like the hyenas of the seas. Like if they can take you down, if they think they can take you down, they'll take you down. And they'll take advantage. But they're always looking for scraps, and they're always very skittish about a fight. Like they could or they couldn't, but it really depends on how they feel about the odds.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're getting close to time here, and I don't want to take up too much of it because I know I've got some stuff I need to prep for as well too, but I wanted to just kind of get your overall feelings as we get into season 6. Are you excited for this content? Is there something that you're looking forward to, or are you hoping that there's something coming down the line that will really kind of excite what you'd like to do on the seas?
Just like the pre-Pirates Life update, it seems like Rare are a bit too quiet, and that learning from the past is a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
That means something huge is coming in the future. I don't know, season 6 or 7, or season 7. It says new ways to play and progress.
Yeah.
So let's hope that's something mega. Don't forget that that's going to be around June. Also, June seems like the biggest month for Sea of Thieves.
Mm-hmm.
The Steam release was in June. Pirates Life was in June, so season 7 is going to be in June, technically speaking, 3 months from March. So I have a feeling that the mega whatever is coming is going to be then, but this season 6 is going to be really good, not because of the sea forts, because of what will happen around the sea forts. Like we're doing it, someone comes to attack us, or I'm not only about PvP. It's a new central spot for new encounters to emerge. So whether it's wholesome, I tend to protect new players or steal from the rich to give the poor.
Yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm looking forward to the Pirate Legend content. I think that's something that a lot of us have been wanting for a very long time.
100%. Yeah.
Especially if they said that the voyages are going to be repeatable. I'm excited for that, because that's what I think has been missing from the Athena's Fortune voyages. Those have been very dry for a very long time. In fact, I think they've been the same since probably back in 2018, when they introduced the resource crates as opposed to getting animals. And
cargo runs. I think they introduced that with the Forsaken Shores update, didn't they?
Yeah, that was my weekly stream, was doing cargo runs back in the day. But
I just hope they don't make older things obsolete. Like, for example, cargo runs, like almost no one does animals now. I hope these new legendary voyages kind of like they take things from that and add it in the old original voyages that we have. So we can actually feel like everything got elevated, not like here's a new awesome thing, now you can completely forget about the old original boring voyage. No, let's make the boring one good too, so people can have many options to do legendary voyages, not only Athena's run, for example.
Yeah, I know when I play MOBA games, like Heroes of the Storm is kind of my go-to for it. There was, when the game was in high production, there was always a sense of power creep. Every time they released a new hero, that new hero would have all of the learning iterations of all the past heroes. So that hero, for whatever reason, was always way better designed or had a lot more fun abilities than the previous ones. And then you'd go and you'd look at the old ones and you're like, these guys need a refresh, because they're not as strong, they're not as viable, and they don't have as many escapes as so when you're talking about them kind of refreshing the old content, I 100%. How many people go do skeleton thrones? Like, that content could be refreshed.
People can't even do them because no one else wants to do that with them. So many people don't have it done.
So
exactly.
It's one of those things where I agree with you. I think that's a really good point to point out, is with the Pirate Legend content coming, hopefully we'll find out that they've added to or at least refreshed the Athena's voyages. I really want them to do something with the Thieves Haven runs. I think the Thieves Haven runs were good when they introduced the new Pirate Legend or the new Athena Fortune items. But those need to be something that are not tied to just 3 or 4 islands. I feel like they really need to expand them so that there's multiple for all the different seas.
Yeah, there's so much material now to use in the old original one to make it better without adding new assets.
Yeah, yep, I 100% agree. I also like your idea of Sea of Thieves having June be kind of their major thing, because that if that's the case, then hopefully they're doing what they did with A Pirate's Life. They're having a really cool trailer to try and showcase what's coming for like E3, because I've always loved like the that time being when
the grand,
having that showmanship to kind of show like what's coming down the pike, and I look forward to that kind of stuff. So I hope that they do that, and I hope you're right about that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we're a few days away from it. We're getting real close. I'm super excited to see what the sea forts are. I think the music's amazing. I'm really stoked that there's going to be content for smaller crews to be able to focus on, but also content for the pirate legends to venture into. And I think this will be a lot of fun. I think it's taken 6 seasons for Sea of Thieves to really get a good bearing on where they want to take the ship as they continue forward into the next year. And I think that, the first adventure, like you said, was a little lackluster, and I kind of equate that to season 1 for Sea of Thieves, where it was good, but it wasn't season 6 good.
It was a test run or pilot. Pilot episode.
Yeah. So I think with the continued adventures, I think we're going to see a lot more to come with those. And even just speaking to John McMurtry a couple of weeks ago, it's clear that they have a lot of ideas, and they're working far in the future. So they kind of know what's coming down, and they're planning for that accordingly. So I have faith that whatever does come out will really wow us at that point.
100%. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Phuzzy, thank you for joining. We dove into areas that I was not anticipating, but I think that it was really cool to actually get a chance to talk with you, to learn more about you just in general. It's really great to kind of learn more of your story.
It was great having me.
Oh yeah, 100%. So if folks want to get a hold of your content, definitely make sure that they are heading over to your YouTube over at PhuzzyBond. You've also got a Twitter account, which is just at PhuzzyBond as well too, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, on the same handle everywhere.
Yeah, really good marketing, by the way, on that, or branding on that one.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where actually before we go, where did PhuzzyBond come from? Because I want to say that it's a thing with having a fro, but being a fan of James Bond. Is that wrong, or where did PhuzzyBond come from?
Here's the thing. Speaking of my music, I had one of my favorite bands. It was just a local fun band, but it was so experimental, and you get that ecstasy feeling when you play with them.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted music that sounded like funk, but a bit fuzzy, like the Jimi Hendrix guitar distortion.
Okay.
So Jackie, my wife, actually came out with the name back then. She was like, then call it Fuzz. And for creative reasons, make it a PH, because fuzz, like FUZZ, sounds typical, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So like fuzz. So over time, we're playing in bars and pubs, oh, here's the fuzzy guitarist, people would refer to me as the fuzzy guitarist, I had a fro, by the way. So maybe that's why, I don't know, but also it referred to the band, Fuzz, the fuzzy guitarist, The name Bond, however, because I just wanted to name myself Fuzzy on Xbox when I created for Sea of Thieves, they said you need to, I don't know, for some reason I couldn't use Fuzzy. It was too short, or it was taken or something. So I was like, Bond just sounds like how I would play, because I like to give a gentle approach. However, if you mess with me, I will annihilate you, or at least try to, So I was like, it has nothing to do really with James Bond himself, but maybe the character of how he behaves. You notice how he is. He can be nice to his enemies, right?
Yeah.
He can make deals with his enemies, but if they cross the line, he goes James Bond on them, you know.
That's awesome. That's so cool. And I want to see photos of you with a fro. That sounds amazing. Because
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures I have.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, Phuzzy, thank you for joining me, man. I'm so glad that you wanted to jump on with me and spend some time talking about Sea of Thieves. And if folks haven't followed you, they need to follow you. They need to support you because you're one of the few content creators out there. And I know I say this with everyone that comes on the show, but I genuinely mean it. I reach out to the people that I want to talk to because I genuinely like their content. And I think that they're doing really smart things in Sea of Thieves. So thank you for being one of those people.
Coming from you. Thank you.
For sure, man. Yeah, I there's so many Sea of Thieves creators out there, and I always try to pay attention to who's starting to do interesting things. You have some really good ideas and some really good conversations about how the game can improve, and I think that if people start following your content and start following where you're at, I think they're going to see that the way I see it, and I think we're going to help try and elevate the conversation around Sea of Thieves and how this game can continue to be as interesting and adventure as it is. So I appreciate the heck out of you.
Thank you, man. Thank you a lot.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. Folks, if you're listening to this now, I'm going to cut and then we're going to jump into the outro. But definitely I'll have all the links for Phuzzy's content in the show notes, so you can go watch him on stream or watch his guides, especially with the new content coming out. You know me, I'm going to be talking about the lore. You're going to want to know how to do it. And I think Phuzzy's a good person to go to for that content. All right, pirates, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I had such a good time chatting with Phuzzy Bond, and I really look forward to the next time we get to chat. Maybe when we actually get into some really big news coming into Sea of Thieves, maybe hopefully in June, you never know. But pirates, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, remember, if you have an opportunity and you're on social media or you happen to be watching Twitch or going over to YouTube, give Phuzzy Bond's content a look. Give him a chance. Let him know like what you think of it. If there's anything you love or hate, or just give back that positive constructive feedback. I'm sure as content creators we all enjoy it. I love talking to people about what they think of the show, what they like, what they don't like, see if there's things I can do that fall in line with what I make and how I like to make it. But pirates, thank you so much for joining. If you want to get a hold of myself though, you can always do that over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always write into the show at CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. That's the podcast email. So CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. If you want to join up, again, we're doing the Sherpa program. We got the Apollo events set up for Sherpas. So now Sherpas are going to be doing events in the Discord. So if you want to learn how to do stuff, you can definitely do that. I think right now Chenzo is kind of leading up the first one of those, and it's going to be an Apollo event that's set up. It's going to be 2 galleons. That's going to be on March 9th. It's the day before we actually get the new season. And it's essentially just getting a couple galleons together, going off somewhere into a far off place, and being able to actually like practice some PvP. Sword and gun training is kind of the thing. Getting better at that, playing around with stuff like that. So there's a couple of people that have signed up for it just to kind of see how things go. So head over to there if you want to learn more about what you can do to join the Sherpa program or find a Sherpa to help you kind of learn how to play the game a little bit better. I'm really excited about this. There's a good group of people that are looking to help train people on the seas, whether it be either through PvP or PvE or going through stuff, just to kind of get them more information. So happy about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And if you guys, if you have any ideas or anything like that, I'd like to hear those as well too. So reach out to me if you have any questions or feedback, things like that. Other than that, I think that's going to do it. So pirates, with that, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows, for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
Hey, I'm Pylon.
And I'm Doc.
And if you've ever played an Elder Scrolls game, you've probably used UESP.net to help you find information about a quest, dive deeper into lore, or really learn anything about the Elder Scrolls.
But did you know we have a podcast too? Every week we bring you the latest in Elder Scrolls news, dig deeper into topics surrounding the game, and have a ton of fun while doing it.
You can find us on your favorite podcatcher by searching the unofficial Elder Scrolls podcast. Can't wait to see you all there.
Have you ever wondered how deep the Elder Scrolls lore rabbit hole goes? Have you got a grasp of the basics and want to find out more about the universe? Written in Uncertainty is here to help you. We'll be mixing in philosophy, theology, and whatever other theory is useful with Elder Scrolls texts to untangle some of the biggest questions in the series, like what are dragon breaks, how does Chim work, where did the Dwemer go, and more. Check us out at writteninuncertainty.com or find Written in Uncertainty on any podcatcher. Thanks for listening, and catch you later in the Grey Maybe of Tamriel.